Shalom. As we celebrate the holiday of Hanukkah, I'd like to talk about the miracles of Hanukkah. And while at it, maybe say a few words about the miracles in general. Oftentimes we hear people say, well, if I experience the miracles of Exodus, or if I experience the miracle of Matan Torah, if I went through the Red Sea, if I ate the man, if I had Hashem with me for the 40 years during the travels in the desert, then I would surely be a believer, because then I would know beyond a doubt that there is Hashem, and that would help me to, frankly, take upon myself all the difficult and inconvenient things that religion demands of a person. All the mitzvot, they don't exactly make your life much easier from practical standpoint. So that would really help me and inspire me to take upon myself to become a religious Jew. And in reality, if we look back on all these events and many other miraculous events, including miracles of Hanukkah, historically this does not prove to be the case. The Jews of Egypt experienced the 10 makos, the 10 punishments of Egyptians, for a period of almost a year. And it wasn't something that happened quickly and could be fast forgotten. It was something that really lasted for a long time, and they've seen these miracles one by one, months after months, months after months. And then they experienced the Kriyat Yam Suf, and they experienced all kinds of things in the desert. And Hashem's cloud was with them at all times. All kinds of things happened. People witnessed Hashem personally at Matan Torah. Nevertheless, throughout all these events, as they were happening, we can still see Jews complaining. We can see still Jews being not happy with what's going on and rebelling against Hashem and violating different commandments and so on and so forth. Shlomo Melech had golden plants planted in the Beit HaMikdash, and everyone could see and see them. They grew, they gave fruit, golden fruit. Other miracles happened in the Beit HaMikdash, so on and so forth. So the point that I'm making right now is that in reality, miracles fail to inspire people permanently. Yes, they may give them temporary inspiration, but as people get used to them and they experience the miracles more and more, longer and longer, for them, they really, deep inside, it stop being miracles. They become part of nature, because miraculous is only that, something that is outside of our normal, everyday parameters. And once it becomes an everyday thing, you really don't interpret it as a miracle anymore. And there are different reasons for this. I'm not going to get into that today. So clearly we can see here is that the excuse of not following the path of Torah on account of the fact that Hashem did not expressly reveal himself to you, that you did not experience these miracles, is just an excuse that Yetzer Hara is using to entice us not to take upon ourselves the life of Torah. Now, today I wanted to talk specifically about the miracles of Hanukkah. If you stop a random Jew out there on the street and you ask him, what are the miracles of Hanukkah, you most likely will get these two answers. Answer number one is going to be that the oil that could be used to light the menorah, that was enough only for one day, lasted for 8 days. So the miracle is that Hashem made the oil burn much longer than it was supposed to, according to its specifications. The miracle number two is what we say during the Hanukkah in the davening, in the Amidah, in the Birkat Hamazon, in the Musaf. We say Al Anisim. We talk about the great miracles that Hashem did for us when He defended the few against the many, that He allowed us to defeat the Greeks. You know, a bunch of civilians with no proper weapons and training, defeating the best military of the time. And this really seems to be a miraculous victory. So let us look at these two and see if maybe there is a different perspective to it. And then let us proceed to what I believe is the true miracle of Hanukkah. To say that the military victory of the Jews in their war for, let's call it war for independence, against the Greeks was a truly unique, miraculous victory, would be a big stretch. Why? Because this is not really a unique case in the history of humans to see the oppressed few or the unarmed few, the untrained few, defeat the better equipped and more professional military of the oppressors. This is simply not a unique case. Quite a few cases in the history of humanity happen like this. So really, to say that this in itself is a unique miracle is just not logically right. Yes, of course, Hashem helped us to win in this battle, in this war, but to say that that in itself is really miraculous it's a big stretch. It's hard to accept. The miracle of oil as well is difficult. There could be different reasons why the oil could burn for 8 days. We knew how important it was to the uprising to light the menorah. That was the torch of the uprising. That was supposed to keep the morale of the heroic people that risked their lives to reconquer Eretz Israel, to get back of the Beit HaMikdash, to restart the services in Beit HaMikdash. So to let them down and to either not light the menorah or to let the menorah go off in a day would be not a good idea from the standpoint of the political and the religious leadership of the uprising. So a skeptical person would say, and I'm not saying this is truly how it is, chas v'chalila, no, but I'm saying if I was a skeptical person who's not believing in Hashem and not accepting the Torah, I would say that, first of all, who knows who did what? Could be that they just poured additional miracles secretly. After all, the access to the Beit HaMikdash was very restricted, as we know. And during the course of 24 hours, whatever, maybe they just found the moments to add more oil, which probably wasn't even kosher to start with, but just to keep the whole spirit of the uprising going. Or maybe, since this jug of oil was so unusual, as we know, they found it with a seal of Kohen Gadol, as it says, according to one opinion. That in itself was very weird, because we know there was no such procedure for the Kohen Gadol to put his seal on the jars of oil. He didn't exactly work for OU, and he didn't exactly have the position of Mashgiach putting stamps on things. He would use the oil that was normally prepared by all other Kohanim, and there was no procedure of stamping the jars. So who knows? Kohen Gadol, maybe he had someone develop a more efficient oil for him that would last longer than normal, that would burn for 7 or 8 days, because if that was to happen, that would certainly indicate his increased level of holiness and spirituality, and it would give him a good rep. We have a lot of cases like this in our history. Sarah Emenu would light the candles on one Friday night, and we know that they would last for a week until Friday night of the subsequent week. So if your menorah lights would burn for longer than usual, people would make a connection and they would say, look how holy this guy is. He's probably just as holy as Sarah Emenu. His oil burns much longer than it's really supposed to. So knowing that the Kohen Gadol was an extremely rich person, halachically was supposed to be rich. If he wasn't rich, but was worthy of the position, the other Kohanim had to pitch in and make him rich. We could say that what's a big deal for Kohen Gadol to hire a private chemist, physicist, whatever, and develop a more efficient oil just to look really holy and special. Chas v'chalila, again, I'm not saying that's what was done. I'm just saying if I was a skeptic, I could say that. So, I believe there are very different, more important reasons in both of these miracles that if you only scratch below the surface that we can see, that are much more important to the message of Hanukkah. As far as the military victory is concerned, what are we saying basically in Al Nisim? We're saying in Al Nisim that we defeated the Greeks who wanted us to forget the Torah, that the few defeated the many, and the weak defeated the strong. So what is the underlying common denominator behind all three of these? What is one of the main goals of the Yetzer Hara in the battle with us? This we'll learn from the um, interesting commentary of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai on the Parshat Miketz, where he discusses what was the cause of Yosef's mistake when he asked the chief butler to put in a good word for him with the Pharaoh to get him out of jail. And what we learn from there, one of the main ideas, is that Yetzer Hara really does not want us to remember our Torah, the Torah that we learn. So it will do anything possible to stop us from internalizing the message of Torah by overflooding us with other information from the surrounding physical world to get in the way. So this is what we fought against. Now, what does it mean that the few defeated the many and the weak defeated the strong? It's the same idea, really. What is the idea? The idea is that the attractions of the material world, of the Goshmius, are much stronger and they are much more appealing. And there are many more attractions of the physical world than there are of the spiritual, especially to the person that did not yet learn to appreciate the beauty of the Torah and its true message. For such a person, Chas v'Chalila, a sports game, or watching TV, maybe even a scientific Discovery Channel, or whatever it may be, or going to a theater, or playing sports, or all kinds of activities, maybe even eating, going to a restaurant, whatever it may be, all these things seem much more real. They surround you from every angle, they beam at you, and they attract you much stronger than the attractions of the spirituality, the light of Torah. So the victory, the miraculousness of these things is that our strive for spiritual, our strive for the holiness, for Kedusha, for the attraction of the Torah and for the attraction of the lifestyle of Torah, ended up being stronger than the strong attractions of the physical world. This is really the miracle of what we're saying in Al Nisim. As far as oil is concerned, what is the technical point with the miracle of oil? It was supposed to burn for 1 day and it burned for 8 days. So something that was supposed to be short term ended up being a long term thing. What does it mean? Oftentimes we get inspired. We hear a great sermon at the synagogue, maybe on the Shabbat services, maybe on holidays. Maybe we even come to the Torah class and we see here a great lecture. And we get inspired and we want to do something with that inspiration. And we feel like we're going to change our life. But then unfortunately, as the oil burns out, as the inspiration burns out, everything returns back to the way that it was before. Because it's hard for the inspiration to last. So the idea of the oil burning for much longer, for 8 instead of 1, as we know, 7 symbolizes the physical reality we find ourselves in. Yes, the 7 days of creation. Where 8 symbolizes reaching beyond the constraints of this world, of the physical creation, right? We have the Brit Milah on the 8th day, and we know that the Brit Milah supersedes even the laws of Shabbat. Many other things. So the idea is that we are able to take the inspiration we get from all the things, many other great things that Torah offers us, and we're able to make that inspiration to last permanently, to become part of our essence, to take us beyond the reach of the physical constraints of the 7, to take us to 8. This is really one of the main messages and ideas behind the oil lesson for 8 days. But what I wanted to say is that there is a third miracle that was not listed, and probably is not listed when you ask random people about what it is, the miracle of Hanukkah. And that is the fact that the people could have great lives. All they had to do, great material lives, is to accept Hellenism, to become just like quote-unquote normal members of Greek society, and they would have amazing material lives. And yet they put their lives on the line. They risked everything they had for the sake of Torah, for the sake of spirituality. And that, my friends, is the true miracle of Hanukkah. That is something we really can be proud of as a Jewish people. That is something that really keeps us going as a Jewish people, from generation to generation, from one oppression to another, from one century to another, until Mashiach comes. Happy Hanukkah, all the best.